We should be live. And we are live. Beautiful. Hello, hello, and welcome everybody to another stream/podcast. If I ever do start uploading these on a podcasting website, I am slacking terribly. Joined again today by, of course, none other than Jacoby.
Hola.
Today's going to be a pretty darn good, I guess, podcast/stream. Two topics on the agenda, but they're going to be some hot, juicy topics. Of course, kicking off the stream, we're going to be getting Jacoby's take on the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 2, correct?
Yes. Are we hopping right into that?
Correct. And then the other thing we're talking about is we're going to be talking about, of course, the most recent and first episode of the third season of Mando. So, to kick off the stream, let's start with Boba Fett, Jacoby.
Okay, well, before I really share my thoughts, I am curious on what you thought of Episode 2, if you do remember it.
Can you give me, like, the brief outline highlights, and then I should remember?
A train heist.
The train heist episode. God, that was the second episode? Wild.
Yeah.
Is that the only thing that happens in that one that's, like, significant?
There's definitely some significant things that happen. Boba also goes through kind of a rebirth of life.
Is it the weird trip he has with the salamander up his nose?
Yeah.
Okay, that's that episode. That episode, I do remember really enjoying. I thought the salamander thing up his nose was definitely different, but I do remember I was kind of like, okay, I'm here for it. Like this is a take, I should say, on mysticism in Star Wars. I didn't hate it, that's for sure. I wish I could really give you my candid response from when I first watched it, but obviously that was several months ago.
Right.
I do remember liking it. I liked the heist as well. I liked the heist for what I thought it was going to represent at the point, in time. But as the show goes on, that's not necessarily the case, but that's okay.
Well, I will say my thoughts, I guess. I'll give you my opinion on it. I really enjoyed it. As a full episode, I thought it was a really, really good episode. I was actually I thought episode 2 was going to be like, I thought it was just going to be terrible off the rip. I really enjoyed it. The salamander scene, I was like, interesting. I'm glad that like it came out of his nose or his mouth or whatever on command at the end, because I was like, I don't care what happens. If that thing's still in my brain and I'm going throughout life and I know there's like some sort of lizard in my brain, that cannot be good for me.
Right.
And then I had a stupid theory, and I was like, what if he died when he was in his trip, and then everything we're seeing right now that like goes on, it was like within his trip, but he's actually dead.
That's an interesting theory. The rest of this is just wait. I don't understand. If he was dead, how would he be seeing anything?
Well, like it's like more like he's still in the trip.
Okay.
I don't think that's the case. I always think those are fun theories though, where like you can always ask the viewers like, did he ever get out of the trip? Is everything you're seeing right now still within his head? I always think those are kind of fun theories, but highlights, I would say, were the action sequences were actually really good. I've seen action sequences from this series, and they've been very, very bad, very lazy looking, more flash than actually having hands being thrown. So that was good to see that this episode had really, really good combat. I thought it was also very fun. I think when Star Wars, released recently for me, when they've tried to make fun in their shows, it comes off as Leia chase scenes kind of thing.
Sure.
It's hard for me. They're very corny. But having Boba teach the Sand People how to ride speedsters or whatever, yeah, that was great.
Yes.
That was super wholesome. Having them trying to jump from one speedster to the other and like falling multiple times. And Boba, man, the actor, he's older. He's like a dad now. You know, like physically, like looking at him, and then him smiling when he's watching him trying to do the thing. He's got like these pearly white teeth. I'm like, this guy is such a dad. I love it.
Go ahead.
Oh no, and I was gonna say another highlight was his rebirth. Actually, kind of when it shows, there is a scene within the episode where he takes a salamander up the nose, and it's like it kind of triggers his rebirth almost. Like he's being trapped by these branches, hooking him to this tree. And within the tree, he is morphing between looks. He's becoming himself, and then he's switching back to him in his armor. Within what's the big monster's mouth?
The Sarlacc.
The Sarlacc. Yeah, it shows him within the mouth, gripping at all like the tentacles and stuff, as well as him also gripping at the branches, going back and forth. And then he finally like gets the strength and breaks the branches and breaks himself out. And I thought it was really cool. It was like kind of him like stripping away what was holding him back from his past life. And I think if he is going to become a better person, I think that was a kind of a cool way to do it in the short episodes they have, to kind of show him breaking these branches that also signify, you know, what happened to him the first time that we thought he was dead. You know, in the was it Sarlacc.
Sarlacc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was a really cool little rebirth. Then it goes to a ritual where he gets these robes that go around him, and he gets a new staff. And I thought it was super, super, super cool to see that. I thought it was a very well done kind of a rebirth for his character.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing I also really liked, the green pigs, the green orcs or whatever they're called.
Yes.
I remember he was like, I don't know if we can trust him. And then, bro, it's like they were like, okay, well we can kill you or you can serve me. And he was like, they're like, okay, we'll serve you. And they're loyal to the bone. Like anytime something bad happens to Boba, they're right there with him.
Gamorreans, that's what they're called. I couldn't think of the dang names.
But yeah, overall, I think the show is actually really good off those 2 episodes.
Yeah. For context, for those of you who haven't been following along the last couple streams, Jacoby hadn't seen the Book of Boba Fett, and so it kind of just became a thing out of the first one of these that we did, that he was gonna each week he was gonna pick or watch the next episode, and we were gonna get his nice juicy take on the following stream. So that's why we're currently talking about this. We will be getting to Mando, of course, but I've been really curious to see his take on the show, because it has been a pile of mixed bags from the fan base. So, not to totally jump off rail there, I figured I didn't explain that well enough.
I just picture all the viewers hearing us talk about Book of Boba when they just watched Mando episode 1 of season 3, and they're like, "Why are we talking about Boba right now?"
Well, to make it what like triggered the thought of me saying that is I was just reading my stream title, and it's literally Mando season 3 breakdowns and hot takes. And we're talking about.
I actually really do have some hot takes for that episode, though.
Good. There was something that you were talking about though with the Book of Boba Fett that was making me think, because as usually with these, as you talk, like I start to remember more about the specific episode. Yeah, his kind of, I loved how they did his transition from kind of what we'd say captive of the Sand People to honorary member, if you will. Like they kind of have the rite of passage, knighting, whatever you want to call it, ceremony with the salamander, and then they give him the robes, and he has his own bow staff or whatever they call it in Star Wars. And I thought that was so well done. I do remember really enjoying that. I was like, this is so cool, because up until that point, really, our perspective of the Sand People has been, well, what we got in like the OT and prequels. They're rather
they've always
like
been the bad guys.
Yeah, and the Ravenish and whatnot, but really they're just native and protective of their lands and their ways, and it's like, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, Boba also makes like a deal with the train people, and he says if you guys could be, if this is your trade route, then you're going to be going on a different trade route, or else we'll kill you, pretty much. Right. And he said these sands are have deep connections to their ancient, something about their rituals and all that. And like there's a like an ancient bond that they have with these sands.
Right.
And I was like, I really love that. I like how they gave him a little bit more than just these sand people that just shoot at everything. Also makes it cooler too, because if you just think about like the speedsters when they're doing like the racing and all that kind of stuff, and just in a way you can see it as they're just trying to protect their land. There's these people just having races and everything on their sacred land essentially.
Mm-hmm. I also really enjoyed how they had the female sand person who, if you can see the stream live right now, the character that's shown in the bottom right corner, that's the female sand person. How they had her kind of train him how to do combat with the staff. I loved that. Like him learning something new. I thought that was really cool. And then, yeah, he goes on to teach them how to use the spears and kind of, it's a sharing of knowledge and sharing of fighting styles. Yeah, now that you've mentioned that episode, I really liked that episode as well. Like, I was still on this gravy hype train for the show at that point. So that's cool. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you're liking it so far, honestly. It's very refreshing. Okay, cool. All right. Let's really get into the juice now. We can move on. Unless you had anything else you want to say about Boba before I move on.
Nope.
All right.
I'm good.
Let's move on to the show of the hour, the talk of the hour. Good old Mando Season 3. After 2 long, strenuous years, we finally got it. And it's been beautiful. At least for me. I think overall, I mean, what I've gotten from popular opinion, it seems like most people are jiving with it. I've heard some little nitpicks here and there, but I'm really choosing not to care at this point with this show. I'm like, if I like elements of it, I like elements of it, and that's going to be that. When I was writing my breakdown, because I was going to do a breakdown video, I decided against it. Well, first I just completely, time got away from me, but then I was like, I didn't want to put it into a video form, but I figured I could talk about it on stream. And I did put in my breakdown how this episode felt like such a breath of fresh air. It just, to not be super, I'm going to be super basic here and then I'll explain more, but it just felt so much like Star Wars in a lot of ways. Even without a bunch of force and everything. Like that opening scene, first of all, watching the armor build anything in this show has always been something I liked. I just always think it's cool watching someone forge Beskar. Like, it's just super neat. And the fact that it was a new Initiate's helmet was even cooler. Just to get to see that. I mean, this is like legendary armor, so having it being assembled before our eyes is, I'm in the presence of greatness right now, so that's cool. And then going into the oath ritual, where they're standing in the shoreline, and you have I'm assuming it was a few different clans represented there based on the banners. Watching kind of this ritual take place. Of course, we get the big alligator turtle beast thing coming out of the water. That early fight scene was super cool to me. I remember I was like, okay, we have like 20 something, probably even more, Mandalorians struggle to fight this one singular beast. Granted, it was a huge beast, but as it went on, I was like, okay, well, clearly the armor is super tough because they put the little like detonators on it and those blew up and like didn't phase it at all, right? And then obviously all the blaster fire, and I was like, I started thinking, I was kind of remembering how I couldn't figure out a great way to say this without like, I feel like saying the wrong thing or oversimplifying it, but these aren't like A-tier Mandalorians, if that makes sense. Like, most of them are remnants of a fallen empire and fallen ways, and are so split. Like, even Bo says in the episode, like, how their people were so divided and split well before the empire came and bombed them, basically. So the skills and the knowledge and everything, I feel like, has dwindled. It's kind of like how they talk about it's really hard to find like pure Beskar and pure Beskar armor anymore because they just can't get new Beskar. It's a degraded version of that. So in a way, I was like, it's kind of representative of how these Mandalorians aren't like, they're not Jango Fett's, you know, they're not top tier, maybe even S tier Jedi killers. They're like good warriors with good armor and equipment, but like rather disbanded. So I did appreciate that, which was cool. I mean, I could go through the whole episode, but I don't want to just talk about the whole episode without hearing anything you had to say.
Yeah, we can like break down each part together.
Okay, cool.
And like kind of move through it.
Cool.
Yeah, alligator fight scene. I thought I thought the helmet that was getting presented to the new member, to the child, it was such a cute little helmet. That's something you just see at the store. You just buy it, give it to your kid for Christmas. It was a cute little helmet. Alligator fight scene was pretty cool. I loved how connected the group was. Like it was very obvious that if you got within the vicinity of this alligator, you're gonna get possibly killed.
Chomped.
It started rolling around and everything. But regardless of that, there was certain members that were engulfed by the water, and other members would run in and have it, like they would do their most, put their life on line to save this one. And I think also because their face is always hidden, I kind of have this lack of connection to them. So seeing the fact that even though I don't know who they are, and that they're still putting their lives on the line for these people, that in my mind I just assume they don't really know who they are either, because they don't know what they look like essentially. And I was like, it really shows that their cult is very bonded.
Yes. Yeah, it was interesting because like the initial reaction of the, more of the tank guy with the big gun was like, God, kids back on the ledge, or whatever he yelled out, and how they were trying to really make sure that the younger kids were safe. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I really liked all that, like that kind of just that bond
kinship.
To protect one another.
Yeah, it's a nice touch. I think it's just like those small attentions to detail that really make it feel tied together, make everything kind of when everything's thought of, it really makes the show kind of come to life, right?
Right.
I did like that. It was kind of cool too. Like, I was just like waiting because the fight scene went on an impressive amount of time, and I was like, okay, what's gonna happen?
See, that was another thing that I also thought, was that it was going on for a minute, and I was like, why is this happening for so long over a dumb alligator? And I think if it was going to be a cool introduction for Mando to come back, I think it should have been maybe a little bit shorter, but I'm not really complaining. It was still cool to watch.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. I mean, so when he switches to the N1 Starfighter after his Razor Crest getting blown up, which was one of those other silly decisions they made with Book of Boba Fett. Like, they reintroduced Grogu to Mando in Book of Boba Fett, and then he built, like, the whole episode is him getting the N1 Starfighter. So if you didn't see Book of Boba Fett, they just kind of were like, yep, this happens. But it was a cool way to bring it back in, because I won't lie, like, the modifications he put into the N1 Starfighter, I mean, you saw them in this episode with Mandalorian, are super cool. And I'm kind of jumping a little bit here. I don't remember what it was called. They mentioned, like, they kind of described it or whatever in the Book of Boba Fett when he made the modification, but it's essentially like an afterburner that he can activate, and it's not like when you go to jump to hyperspace where if you have pursuers, they can scan and they know you're about to jump to hyperspace because it's powering up, right? And they have scanners that can sense that. His thing, it's not hyperspace, it can do that, but it's like an afterburner that he can just kick in and fire up, and it just zooms him out of there like faster than pretty much any other ship can, so he can get out of range and then jump to hyperspace. Like, it's super cool, and he's used it a couple times now, and I liked seeing it come in and just blast that thing in the chest. I was like, yep, that's a great intro for Mando and his new ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just like, oh, cool ship. I made assumptions, like obviously him and Grogu get back together from Book of Boba.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure people watching right now are hearing you talk about Boba though, and they're like, "You're spoiling it for him."
Jacoby was
No,
not under a rock the whole time, guys. He saw a lot of spoilers for it already.
I just heard it was bad, so I was like, "Why put my time?"
I
Me
liked,
putting my time.
yeah, right. Well, you have a reason now, right? The following scene was cool too. I liked the dialogue between him and the armorer, talking about, well, really all that scene was to me was to reiterate and reestablish that he's exiled because he took off his helmet. And I liked how she added, to make it worse, you did so willingly, right? I thought that was a fun little detail in there. And they have the whole exchange where he's like, well, if I can, by creed, if I can go and bathe in the waters beneath the mines on Mandalore, then my transgressions will be, atoned for. I don't remember his exact words. And she's like, well, there is no surface. It's poisoned. It's cursed, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, well, look at this thing I found. And nothing like super, I guess, crazy profound happens during that. But
You just like
again,
the interaction.
yeah, it's just a good interaction. I think it sets up like okay. And I wrote this in that video I did as like a little precursor to the show dropping. I think him being redeemed is not actually the main plot of this season. I think it's kind of like the B plot maybe, or like a B plus plot. I think it's going to be.
That's what I was thinking too, and I'm hoping that's true because I think it's cool, but I don't think it's main plot worthy.
No, I think it's going to be the driving factor of what pushes kind of the conflict between him and Bo, and like the tension between the different clans and whatever else greater thing they're building. I think it's just kind of the catalyst of what gets him into that position, because he doesn't care to rule, right? I mean, we see that he wanted Bo to do it because she was interested, and he's like, great, I don't want to do this. His interest is just restoring his creed essentially and his honor. So I think this is kind of the nudge to get him into a certain position at least.
Yeah, I'm assuming I am a little surprised that he was still so motivated to redeem himself. I guess I feel like he's learned a lot, so I was kind of surprised that he was still motivated to be redeemed within his clan.
Like it's still something that's so important to him. Yeah, I had that feeling too.
Because I feel like too, also learning more about his cult, learning a little more about it, I was kind of surprised that he was so still wanted to be a part of it as much as he did, even especially after being alone. Because one thing that's super cool about his introduction to the show is I think I've learned that it's actually been 2 years since he's last seen them.
Like
I was looking at, yeah, I saw something on Twitter and it was talking about the timeline, and it was talking about how long that Grogu trained with Luke and all of that, and it said that like within that, I think they said Grogu trained with Luke for like 2 years.
Wow, that seems interesting.
A long time, right?
How they got that interesting.
No, yeah, I saw it. I was on something, and it made sense and everything, but I was just like, man, it doesn't feel like that though.
No, it doesn't.
So yeah, and it also makes more sense too when they got to that city. I forgot what it was called, but a city that he's been within the show and how much it's evolved.
Oh, Navarro.
Navarro, yeah, Navarro has also changed a lot, like a ton, knowing after, because before I watched it, I saw that it was 2 years that Grogu was with Luke. It made a lot more sense that this much time, like they were able to develop as much as they have.
Sure. Yeah. I think, talking about him still caring. Oh, right. Yeah, because it does seem like he has, I had the exact same feelings and thoughts. I was like, it's kind of weird that Mando hasn't, like, after knowing Bo and having all the experience and, basically making the decision for the sake of Grogu to, like, break his creed. Like, it's like, he's starting to see greater value than, like, just the creed and all that stuff, but it's still so important to him. And I was like, it kind of feels weird. But then I tried to be a little bit empathetical with it, and I was like, okay, well, in all fairness, like he was a foundling himself, and these are the people who found him by the name and raised him up and brought him up and taught him everything he knows. So I was like, okay, like breaking family
That's
ties like that. That's fair. It's rooted more deeply in who you are.
for sure. That's kind of what I thought too.
Yeah. Yeah, a little weird, but I think maybe that's, even if it's not intentional, how I'm like trying to find a way to appreciate that is like it's probably just as weird of a tension for him as it is for us watching him go through it. So I'm like, okay, it's a little more relatable then.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, okay, were you gonna say something?
Oh no, I was gonna. Oh, I guess. What's the next breakdown? Like, what's the next part of the show do we want to break down? I'm personally over the. I said everything for the intro.
Sweet. So he goes to Navarro, and he meets his old friend Grief Karga. Sees everything that's changed. I liked this scene a lot too, even though it was mostly dialogue.
Oh, I like dialogue anyways.
Yeah, I thought it was super
good
cool.
Dialogue.
Yeah, the one seeing the city change so much, like I think there was, even though maybe it doesn't feed into the overall plot too much, I think just did a good job with basic symbolism of the town and that planet and that system going from being super heavily reliant on what would you call it, crime related business, with bounties and such, to legitimate business. I forget what he said, but they're official trade, whatever, of the Hyadian way or something like that. So they're like a recognized trade port. So it's like legit business coming through, and like how all the people came together. Because it's, like the place kind of got murked when the second-rate empire with Gideon kind of came and shot the whole place up and all that jazz. So I thought that was neat. And then having him be the new high magistrate of the system taking over. But even just like the interaction of, there's a great plot of land, you can have it, you can set up, I can basically make you rich and comfortable, and you can just retire here and be done, and yada yada yada. Like, it's just cool world. I don't know, sometimes I feel like it's kind of like when you play a video game, right? And it's like really fun to play the main quest with good quest lines, but it's nice that like when the side quests have good quest lines, and it gives that kind of horizontal depth to a story. I like seeing horizontal depth when it's done well, and it doesn't just feel like stupid bloat. Like, that's kind of what this scene was to me. It was good horizontal depth. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, when it came to the pirates, I feel like you kind of know me well enough. I don't really like when like action scenes happen just for the sake of an action scene happening. This scene, I thought it was good, though. I thought it was going to be something like that, but I thought it kind of showed his friend. What's the friend's name again?
Grief.
Grief, yeah. I think it was good to show that Grief still is him, I guess you could say.
He still got it, man. The gunsling when he just, pew, I was like sick.
Yeah, like it's still him, and it shows that. Also, is a great way to kind of show that it's not just this big, masterful city he's trying to build for the sake of having a big head. Like, he's like, you are not going to drink in that school. Like, that's like, it kind of showed just even the importance of the growth of like the next generation and everything. He was like, that school is very important. Right. So yeah, I really like that scene too.
I think it's cool too, because his character, I think, is a nice, even though we know of him from the other seasons, but it wasn't like he was an explored character, very much a supporting role. But it was like his transition too, from the more crime world to the legitimate, and being more of an honorable, decent person, because he's even very diplomatic, right? He's like, well, why don't we continue this conversation in my office? I'll get you drinks there or whatever. And he was really giving them every opportunity to not be dirtbags, and they chose to be dirtbags regardless. And then like you said, he's still who he was. Like, he's still capable, and he, they do the draw scene, and he outshoots the guy significantly, and shoots him in the hand, though. See, so it's like a sense of control. I just liked it. It was good.
Oh yeah. This was something that I did not like during that whole segment, though, and this is something that I have kind of said about past Disney Star Wars shows in general. I think they have it's almost like a video game plot, in a sense that there's an overall thing they have to do, and it's like they go somewhere and they're like, oh, you have to go retrieve this, or you have to go do this like small little thing for this bigger thing to happen. and it works in the same way of like a video game where it's like, oh, you want to go past this bridge, well, you have to go get a key, where you have to go fight this one person or whatever to get it. And that's kind of what I got from Mando getting the memory card.
Oh yeah, for IG-11.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, maybe this could be really cool. I'm not judging too hard, but that was something I did dislike about the other seasons, especially season 1, where it was like, go to this place, go to this other place, wait till you get caught, do it again. It had like a very video game-esque plot in that sense. And this is also kind of gave me that same kind of feeling where it's like, oh, there's a big plot, but of course, like, you can't just go figure out this plant's habitable, or if you can breathe on it by yourself. Of course you need this droid that you already know is dead, but of course you're going to go test your luck and go find a memory unit. So maybe it would be cool, but it does concern me because I don't like when they do video game-esque plots in the sense where they're doing these little tiny things as opposed to just going forward with the main plot. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. But
yeah,
hey,
I like when they follow the main plot and they go, because I just think in terms of keeping me engaged, I really like just seeing the main story just continuously flow.
Sure, that's fair. It did, however, hit because his whole thing with IG-11 is he doesn't trust droids, and IG-11 he grew to trust, and that's why he's like, no, it has to be this droid. So it's kind of like, it's a little ridiculous, but at the same time, I'm like, whatever. The guy's got reasons. Okay, it did. On the bright side, get us more Babu Frick time. Oh my god, he's the little rat thing that was working on the droid. Yeah, he's from the sequels and stuff. Next to Ben Solo, probably the coolest character to come out of the sequels.
Yeah, that was a good moment. A part of me was still in that stage where it's like, you're gonna have to go find a whole new memory unit, and he's like, I'll find one.
Right, it's like, we could do this. We could just build you one, but or you could go on this little quest.
Yeah, so that's something I do notice. There's like a lot of quest kind of lines they kind of do, but it's okay. I'm not judging too hard. I just hope it's not something where half of the show is built on trying to find this memory slot.
I didn't even read Jacob's. I mean, I read them, but I forgot to read them out loud. Jacob said, huge crash landing. And then he said, it's me. He said, first episode of Mando Season 3 versus Attack on Titan Season 4 Part 3, Part 1, Jacoby.
Oh, he wants to know my opinion on that?
I'm guessing so.
I'm sorry to the Star Wars fans, but that Attack on Titan episode was a 10 out of 10. It was really amazing. Not going to get into it, though, but great.
Yeah,
that's my answer.
This isn't maybe anime, dude. This is maybe Star Wars. Stay on brand.
Hey, blame Jacob.
Jacob, stay on brand. What the heck's wrong with you, dude? We don't talk about that. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so the following scene, when they go off-world, and they run into the pirates, of course, because Vale's a little weasel. Another action scene, so nothing crazy plot-wise. That's one thing I like about Mandalorian that they won't freaking do in any of the other shows, and that's have any kind of space battle or interaction. I'm like, that is like, it's not required, of course.
Andor. Yeah, I'm right there with you, man.
When do they have a space battle in Andor?
I think they have one with Andor, right? When they're getting out of Dodge, and
they're not even in space. They're still in world. They're just flying through the clouds.
Hey, if they're fighting in spaceships, it works well with me. If I gotta see all black with stars, that's not gonna change mine.
Yeah, well, don't get me wrong, man, Andor was cool too, and that was a cool scene, but it's not, like I said, it's not a requirement. It was just cool to see, especially because his new ship is so freaking cool, and I love watching him outclass people in space fighting, because I love to see him as such a good pilot. I don't know. It's like, is it necessary? No. Was it cool? Absolutely. And the fact that it wasn't just 3, it was 6 of them, and he's like, hey, let me just completely turn into a ghost out here, hiding amongst the asteroids, just popping you off one by one because I'm just that much better than you. I was like, all right, Mando, I see you, Din. I see you. Mad
That was
respect.
was a nice moment.
And then we get to see that cool modification I was talking about when he like runs into their capital ship and they're like, surrender, I might let you live. And then of course he's like, another lesson for you, boy. Never trust a pilot. Pew! Out of here.
I will say, I think the pirate that they showed, I feel like they got inspiration from Davy Jones or whatever.
Dude, straight up like Davy Jones.
Did you get that too?
I saw one of those, posts you'll see on Instagram, and it's like Mando season 3 episode 1 spoilers without context. It does like the 4 pictures, right? You seen those?
Oh yeah.
It was like a turtle, a picture of like Davy Jones, and then it was like a couple other ones or something. I was like, exactly.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of was hoping we got more of that pirate.
We might, because of like what just happened now, and like him and Den being kind of connected to that world with grief and everything, so he could. The Pirate King.
My theory on the show, though, this is my theory, right? I think the planet is going to be livable, and then there's going to be like a Mandalorian war for the planet.
Interesting.
That is my guess.
I do think that to some degree, I feel like the clans are gonna fight. Like, like Bo calls them a cult, like Mando's people. I forget what their name is, but I feel like her kind of sect, even though they're not under her right now because she doesn't have a dark saber, I feel like they're going to fight Mando's people. I don't know. I know a lot of people are like building up, thinking that Bo and Mando are gonna fight, and I am in that boat. But sometimes I'm wondering if it's not gonna go that way. Like, I don't know.
So you didn't get that.
What's that?
I haven't got that vibe.
Well, the whole thing has been like Mando had. So this, to like really dive back a little bit in some context, in Rebels, Sabine Wren gets the Darksaber in combat, and she has it and she learns to wield it, and then they meet Bo-Katan, and Sabine decides to give Bo the Darksaber, and Bo tries to resist at first, saying like it has to be won in combat, and Sabine's basically is like, that's dumb, you're clearly more equipped to lead Mandalore than I am. And so she accepts it, and we don't know exactly how she lost it and how Gideon got it. And I mean, we know how Mando got it, obviously, but the thought is that like basically, and long story short, the people, the Mandalorians, found out that Bo didn't earn it in combat, and so like she wasn't regarded as the true ruler, blah 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 blah, so that's why she wasn't successful, and then she lost it somehow. And now that Mando has won it rightfully, he could unite the people. And I know that they have that dialogue at the end of the episode, and she kind of seems basically uninvested anymore, but I just don't know. So that's why I'm kind of like backpedaling a little bit, maybe that they won't, but I definitely think that there is going to be a war with the Mandalorians.
For sure. I think she definitely respects the blade. So I don't think she'd do anything. I think if they were to duel, it would be like, I guess, a respectful duel. I don't think she kind of seems like a person that really respects the Mandalorian. So I don't think she would like go against his back and like try to kill him like that, and like to get the saber, the blade. Yeah. So I think it'd be something where it's like a traditional duel, you know? Sure,
like how, well, never mind, I won't say anything. Oops. Her demeanor, though, we're skipping a little bit here. There was something I want to talk about before the visit to Kalevala with Bo in the castle, but her attitude was so interesting there, because she's like, just go wave that thing around and they'll do whatever you say. Like, it's really weird that she's just so defeated and over it. I guess she's seen the spoils of Mandalorians fighting and whatnot, and she's been around for so long. I guess I can understand anybody getting tired of it at that point, but I'm just curious, like, really what's going on in her brain and how she's going to respond going forward, because she seemed motivated before and now she's just doesn't seem to care whatsoever.
I would say that I did notice that too. I think it will also be kind of interesting to see her get that passion again too, because there's no way she's going to be like this the whole show. Maybe she
No
will.
way.
I don't think she will, and I think that whatever it is that sparks it for her, I'm excited to kind of see it, because she is a force to be reckoned with, I would say.
Oh, Bo's a freaking baller. She's so cool. I was so excited when they brought her into live action, because she's in Clone Wars a lot and in Rebels a bit. She's so freaking cool, because you know who her sister is, Satine, who was the ruler of Mandalore when they were trying to be pacifists. That was Obi-Wan's, like, lover, basically, you know?
Right.
And she, like, gets murdered by Maul. So Bo has a lot of interaction with that. And not to mention, there was the, I forget what they were called. They were, like, I want to say Death Eaters, but that's Harry Potter. Death Watch. Death Watch became a part of the Maldalorians when Maul took over Mandalore after killing Satine. They were the Death Watch folks went and were loyal to Maul, and so
I think I knew this.
Yeah, and so Bo has like a personal vendetta against them, and there was theories that the Armorer might have been a Maldalorian, and that's why she has such harsh old school views of Mandalore, because the Death Watch did too, and she has horns on her helmet, and all the Maldalorians had horns on their helmets. So
right.
when she makes that comment to Mando about when she's saying that your cult basically drove us against each other and almost destroyed Mandalore, blah 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 blah, well before the Empire, it could have been she was referring to Maldalorians. We don't know. It's kind of speculative, but
that's if Disney goes that deep.
Yeah, I don't know if they will. I don't think it's even necessary that they do, but they could. But okay, before we keep talking about that interaction, because there's more things I wanted to say about it. There's a scene, and I think everybody's talked about it now, but the second I saw it, my brain was racing, and it's when they're in hyperspace, and Grogu's kind of climbing around the ship, and he's looking out the window, and he sees the silhouettes of the big creatures.
That was nice.
That's so cool.
Are they any specific creatures that I'm supposed to be aware of, or?
So yeah, if you didn't, this was another thing where it was a tie to Rebels. So those are called Purgil. They're like space whales, but they are gigantic space whales that can jump to hyperspace. They have the ability to do that because of a unique connection to the Force. So they can do hyperspace jumping, and this is a fat spoiler for Rebels, just FYI, the very end of the show, they Ezra and Thrawn are like caught up in Thrawn's capital ship, because Ezra is going to try to take him down, and basically to keep Thrawn from escaping, Ezra uses the Force, because the Purgil are all like entangled up in this ship, and they are charging up to jump to hyperspace. And so Ezra just uses the Force to hold Thrawn in place, but he can't escape either, and they both get jumped to hyperspace, and they are taken into the unknown regions, and that's like the show ends, and we don't know what happens to them. So there's been lots of theories that Thrawn's going to come back and Ezra's going to come back, either in this show or the Ahsoka show or whatever. So when I saw the Purgil, I was like, okay, this is either a very intentional Easter egg, or they just wanted to put Purgil in there because it's cool, in which case I'm happy with either one. But I think it really is an Easter egg to either Thrawn going to be showing up in this show or Ahsoka, and maybe everything ties in there.
See, I am a person that likes gruesome stories. And that being said, if I'm seeing more Jedis come into the story, I also want to see them go.
Oh,
Lights out. So I'm like, where were you all when these other situations were happening? Nowhere. Which means one thing.
You're dead. Well, so Rebels is like only a few years before A New Hope. So Ezra was in the unknown regions at that time, because now we're after the original trilogy. So it could be said that he's been stuck in the unknown regions for those several years. Ahsoka's the one where it's kind of like, okay, where were you during all this? Because it's like, you're a baller.
And you especially know who Vader is.
Uh-huh. And it's like, oh, hi, Luke, after everything. Let me introduce myself to you.
Oh, you're the son to my master. Oh, interesting.
I'm gonna be your lover now. Oh, I'm just kidding. Have you heard any of that? The what do they call it? Luke Ahsoka. People are shipping Luke and Ahsoka. It's like, dude,
I would have loved that.
She's got like 13 years on him. No. She's got like 17 years on him.
Hey, man. Nothing wrong with the number.
As long as they're both adults. Yikes. But it was such a small scene, but I appreciated it so much because I'm like, dude, Thrawn is got to be the big baddie that they're leading towards. I thought they were going to do it in Boba Fett. He's behind the scenes pulling some strings. Like, whether he's a part of the contingency or not, I don't care. I'd be okay if he wasn't a part of the contingency. He's just trying to do his own thing. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious.
Me too.
Okay. So, with Bo, when he's talking to Bo, one of the things I totally forgot to mention, but I liked the reasoning he had with the armor when he's like, I got this thing and it has Mandalorian inscription on it. He's like, the only places it come from is the surface of Mandalore. And it's like encased in that stuff. And she's like, well, that's only proof that the surface is poison. And he's like, well, I got it from somebody who got it from a traveler who had to have gone to the surface of Mandalore to get it. And if they could go there and survive, then the surface can't be as bad as we are led to believe. And that's kind of like the whim he's going on, which is kind of cool. And I'm really hopeful that I think we all can assume that he is going to find the water. They're either going to do it one of two ways, I think. He's going to go to Mandalore. He's going to get there. Stuff's going to happen, who knows what. But he's going to reach the waters below the mines. And he's going to be able to bathe in them and redeem himself. Or events are going to transpire. And he's going to be led to be like, I don't need to do this. Let alone I can't, because they don't exist, because Mandalore really is that destroyed. I really hope it's the former, though. And I think it would be neat that if they could actually rebuild Mandalore, from no other reason other than just as like a fanboy lore lover, it would be super cool to see Mandalore rise again.
Right. That would be cool. I'd be down.
Oh my god, Jacob.
What did Jacob say?
We've been referencing Step Brothers a lot, and he said, sorry, I'm chewing too. Luke to Ahsoka. Now that Ahsoka's had the old bulls, now she wants the young calf. Oh my god, Jacob. That's too good.
Hey. He's onto something.
He is onto something. There's so like Josh and Theory on their stream, like the whole Luke Ahsoka thing. I don't know if it probably wasn't the first place it was referenced, but somebody made a joke in one of their streams a while back about it, and Theory was so opposed to the idea, and Josh thought it was so funny how opposed he was, so it's become a joke, to the point where Josh has made like merch surrounding it. Just shipping them together, and people eat it up, man.
I think it's a funny idea. I do think Theory, I don't watch enough of him, but he sounds like a very angry man, though. I'm not going to lie.
He's such an interesting guy. It's so easy to think that, too, and it's not unbased. Like, in all fairness to him, like, he has been through the ringer with his channel. I've read into a lot of the stuff that he got hit with. Like, he did some like really cool things with his fan film, his Vader fan film, and got really big. And there, Pedro, no, that's not his name. What am I saying?
Pedro Pascal?
No, yeah, that I was getting caught up with the wrong person there. I'm totally spacing this guy from Disney, like an official Disney person. God, I can't think of the name. It's driving me nuts. This is kind of old news. This was years ago, but when Mando season 2 the premiere happened, and Theory cried when doing the live stream watching it. He cried when Luke came out. This guy literally publicly made fun of him for it.
Sorry. That is rough, but
and well, the thing that was bad is like he doesn't make him like he was insulting fans and Theory specifically, and like the whole fanboy tears in a mug thing kind of spun out of that. I don't know how directly interrelated it all was, but so that happened, and then he got thrown through the ringer a little bit. People, I don't know, like I've listened to a lot of the stuff he says, and he definitely has takes that I don't agree with, but like typical culture today, it's like probably one of the most out of context misquoted people I've ever interacted with, like just observing. Like things he says get framed in really, really weird lights that it's like that's not what he was saying. And then he has his other moments too where he's like just not been super happy with how Star Wars has been lately, so sometimes he's just like, I'm so done, and he gives very angry takes. So I'm like, it's okay. You don't have to be so mad. It's interesting.
Well, I refuse to listen to Mr. Theory because if I'm gonna listen to a Star Wars podcast, I'm gonna listen to maybe Star Wars. Hey.
Oh, that's the way it ought to be. Out there? Yeah, all right. Come on now. Hey, we got 4 watching, so eat your heart out.
Yeah, and by next month it'll be 4 million.
Wow, that would be insane. I don't even think the top streamers in the world get 1 million views at a time.
Yeah, we're talking top. We're talking top streamers.
Top,
and that's you.
I'm gonna set the new standard. I think like XQC is probably one of the biggest. I think he averages like 60,000, and that's just insane. Whereas, you know, me over here with my 3 to 4.
Hey, they mean something.
They do. I appreciate all 3 to 4 of you.
I like how we're just near the end of the podcast, and you're just like, let me get these munchies in.
Dude, you know what they are?
It's like that, you know, like when there's like they slowly put in music where you know like you're getting near the end of the show. Start hearing you munching. All right, everyone.
Munch. Okay, here's the thing. When you hear what they are, you're gonna understand. No, you're gonna understand it. You're gonna respect it, and you're gonna envy the fact that it's not you. I got a big old tub of peanut butter filled pretzels.
That sounds delicious. I had 3 Pop-Tarts in a row. So Dollar Tree sells Pop-Tarts, guys. Get on it.
No, don't, because they didn't sponsor me to say that, so don't.
They sponsored me.
Well, I want royalties. They're like, we'll give you 50% off your next order. So it only costs you $2. Yeah. Oh,
I'm excited for next week's podcast. What would be this Wednesday?
Yeah. So hear me out.
Oh, I have my schedule now. So
hear me out, Jacoby. This is what I'm thinking I'm gonna do, because doing video breakdowns, no matter how I try to write it, how I try to frame it, it kind of worked out that I wasn't able, because I had it done, like it was written, and I recorded it. I just got so busy I could not put it together unless I really half-assed it through together. What I want to do instead is keep my video spaces for like the unique things that I really like doing, my fan, fiction, and then the other types of videos I do. I think it'd be cool and this is, I mean, this would extend the challenge to you too. I want to watch the Mando episode right before I go on the stream, or when I have a second to watch it before the stream, because I want to start talking about it that Wednesday during the stream.
And they come out Wednesday, right?
Yeah, they do come out Wednesday.
Oh man, I mean, the thing is, it might have to be late night streams. The only thing, because I got my schedule again, and it does look like I'm working Wednesday at nights.
How late? When do you get off?
Well, it's 5 to 2nd off, so I usually get off around like 8 to 9, which is later for you.
9 to 10 for me.
But I don't know. Yeah, I guess if you want to do a stream at 3, but
damn,
I don't think that worked for you either.
I'm at work. I mean, that would actually kind of be cool though, a late night stream.
I'm always down for it.
Because you said, so 9 to 10 would be my time for starting. That's not the worst. Honestly, it's like, I'm down. I'm
Sweet. Okay, then we're perfect. Then it all works out.
Cool, because I really want to do it, because then it'll be like super fresh in our brains too.
Oh yeah, and honestly, late night streams. I personally love late night streams. So, yeah, and then we also get to talk about, we get to talk about Mando episode 2, and I get to bring in more thoughts. Maybe the decline of Book of Boba starts, but I get to talk about episode 3.
That would be sick. And I need to get caught up because the Bad Batch is still going. I didn't watch this last week's episode because Mando came out that day, and I was trying to write the video, but I need to watch it. And the next Bad Batch episode is going to come out because we're getting, I think, 16 this season, so we still have a couple more weeks of Bad Batch too, so it's just like, honestly, it's kind of a dope world right now for Star Wars because we have like arguably the best, if not one of the best shows happening, and then a show that I'm enjoying at least. I know not everybody likes Bad Batch, but I'm jiving with it, so it's hard to complain.
All that matters.
Exactly. Oh, well, that's pretty much everything I had.
Same here.
Well, sick. Alrighty. Well, you all heard it here first. Next week, we're going to be doing Wednesday stream again, a little bit later, but it's going to be good. We're going to be talking about Mando, Book of Boba Fett. It's going to be just like this stream, but twice as good, because every week is twice as good. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Just like, you're welcome for my presence. Thank you all for being here. Hope you enjoyed. We will catch you next week. See ya.
See ya.